Hey, happy Monday to you. Hope you're doing great. And I thought I'd read a little bit to you for your commute home. And I'm going to do something weird. So my mentor, my lifelong mentor, her name is Karen. And she reads all of my books before I submit them to an agent or submit them to a publisher. And because she gives really honest feedback and she reads it really carefully, the book. But she has this weird habit that she reads books from the back to the front. So she always reads them, I don't know, the last chapter first and then goes forward. So when I keep that in mind when I'm writing books now, because I know that Karen's probably going to read my last chapter of my book first. So I always make sure that the last half of the book is just as good as the first half, because I know there are people out there like Karen who's going to read it back to front. So I thought I'd start with the last chapter of the book, which is actually about gratitude. And I am convinced, after doing this for years, that gratitude is the foundation for mental health. If you can start with gratitude, man, it doesn't matter how deep of a hole you feel like you're in. If you can get grateful, you can get pulled out. Just start with small little things of being grateful for. So here's chapter 24. Be grateful. These are short chapters. I would maintain that thanks are the highest form of thought and that gratitude is happiness doubled by wonder. That's by my favorite author, G.K. Chesterton. The Kalalau Trail runs along the breathtaking Nepali coast on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. All along the trail, there's dense jungle, some amazing waterfalls, and crystal clear streams running into the ocean. When I took a team hiking there a few years back, there were even whales breaching and splashing in the deep blue waters of the Pacific. It was paradise. I'd been looking forward to this hike for years. We started early and covered a lot of ground in the first few hours, but just a few miles in, it started raining. It made the trail really muddy and difficult to hike. As the day went on, I started to realize we're going way too slowly to complete the distance I had planned for the first day. This meant the entire plan for the hike would be thrown off. I was really frustrated and disappointed. That evening at camp, while I was lying in my tent all annoyed and grumpy, listening to the raindrops falling, I had a realization. You're in Hawaii. Pull yourself together, man. This was a dream vacation for millions of people. And honestly, I was the only one on the team who seemed upset. Everyone else was just enjoying being in paradise. After all, we were camping in a Hawaiian jungle right next to a beautiful stream fed by a waterfall. Sure, it was raining, but other than that, we had amazing weather. To top it off, it was January. Half of the United States was being pummeled by snow. But in Hawaii, it was 70 degrees outside. I shifted my perspective and started enjoying the wonder of where I was and what I was doing. I'm the world's best at focusing on one negative thing and letting it ruin all the good around me. No matter how good life is right now, I can always zero on the thing that's just not right. The worst part is that I let that one little thing cloud my ability to see all the good around me. We're all prone to doing the same. You have a great job, but lately one particular coworker has made going to work feel miserable. You have a healthy, energetic child, but keeping an eye on that child is exhausting. You have a great car, but your neighbor just got a new one that's all shiny and doesn't have any scratches or dents. You start to feel discontented with the car you have. No matter how great life gets, there's always something that isn't as perfect as it could be. Focusing on that one imperfect thing has a way of ruining even the best moments. It leads to all sorts of discontentment and negativity. But there is one decision that can clear the clouds and rain in your mind and help you see clearly things as they really are. That decision is choosing gratitude. Gratitude stops frustration, anger, and anxiety dead in their tracks. In fact, gratitude is the foundation for mental health. Gratitude is a decision to shift your perspective and focus on what's right in your life rather than on what's wrong. Love slows down to be grateful. Selective abstraction. A while back, I spoke at a chapel for a Christian college. The auditorium was packed with students. I felt pretty young, so I figured I'd really connect with that audience. But about 4 minutes into my talk, a student in the second row pulled out headphones, put them in his ears, then closed his eyes and leaned back. A minute later, another student about 3 rows behind him pulled out a textbook and started studying. At this point, I was getting pretty frazzled. I had a hard time focusing on what I was saying because I kept watching those two goobers in the front rows. When I was done, the chaplain dismissed the students. He came up to me with a big smile on his face. Man, I've never seen them so engaged. Great job. Pfft, I didn't believe him. I spent the rest of the day convinced that I was a failure at public speaking. There were about 1,000 students that paid attention to my talk, but I just couldn't stop thinking about those two people who made it clear they had no interest in what I was saying. In psychology, we talk about something called selective abstraction. It's focusing on one negative thing to the exclusion of everything else. 99% of a particular event may have been outstanding, but we're laser focused on the one thing that went bad, like those two knuckleheads in my college talk. There will always be something that isn't perfect in life, but gratitude holds its greatest power when we can be thankful even when things aren't perfect. I say it's powerful because gratitude takes your eyes off of what's wrong and helps you focus on what's right. And there's a lot that's right. In fact, for most of us reading this, it's really quite miraculous how good we have it. Most of us are way better off than our grandparents could have dreamed. In fact, most of us are better off than kings and queens from the past. We have indoor plumbing. We have electricity. We're living in a pretty great time. It's so easy to take things for granted in life. In fact, often things that were once seen as a blessing have become so normal that we just see them as a baseline for what we think we deserve. When we first got that dream job, it was a miracle. We called and told everyone about it. But eventually, the job became the new normal, and we started to forget what a gift it was. The same thing happens in marriages and relationships. Our spouses become a source of anger and frustration when we forget what a blessing it is to have someone who's committed to us. Every blessing in your life comes with some burden. Blessings come with responsibility. Oftentimes, the greatest responsibility is to just remind ourselves that what we have really is a blessing. Stay grateful for what seems normal, because it's not. You are surrounded by miracles and amazing gifts, but you can miss them if you aren't thankful for them. Getting through it with gratitude. Recently, my daughter was sick for several days and required a lot of attention. She couldn't sleep for more than an hour, so neither could we. It was exhausting. We had to cancel some plans, and I couldn't get any work done. I remember feeling so frustrated, and at times, I was a little angry. Will this ever end? I decided I needed an attitude shift. I reminded myself, it won't always be this way. My daughter would get better. She was going to be back on her feet soon enough. I decided to focus on any good I could find in the situation, and I found it quickly. She was curled up next to me on the couch. She didn't squirm away or run off and play. She wanted to be near me. Sadly, I realized it won't always be this way either. She won't be this small for long. She'll grow up and find her independence and won't need me anymore. It reminded me to be present and enjoy this while I can, even though her sickness wore me out. There's a burden and a blessing for every season. Shoulder the burden, embrace the blessing. It won't always be this way. Gratitude isn't ignoring the bad or acting like it doesn't exist. Gratitude is choosing to find what's good in the situation and focus on that. And there's always something good you can focus on. It might take a little work, but there is always something wonderful right around you that you may just have been taking for granted. It goes back to focusing on whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. We talked about reframing your situation a few chapters ago. Gratitude is the ultimate tool for helping you reframe any situation. There are going to be some challenges in life that you just can't change. There are going to be some people you can't change and can't avoid. You just have to face them. But if you can find things to be grateful for in each situation, you can put a new frame around it. 5 months ago, I injured my hip while training for a hike, and it's still limiting what exercise I can do. I get frustrated about it a lot. While writing this chapter, I decided I needed to practice what I teach, so I started looking at what I could find to be grateful for about the situation. I've been trying to increase my flexibility for years. In order to keep my hip from tightening up, I have to do regular stretches. It's actually increasing my flexibility, and I've also found that it's improving my posture. I hate this injury, but I've started to see it in a new light, and I'm not quite as frustrated anymore. What or who is the biggest cause for constant frustration or anger in your life right now? Think about it for a minute. What can you find that is positive in it? What's good about that person? What's the smallest thing for which you can be grateful? You don't have to drum up tons of gratitude. If you'll start small, it will grow from there. Once you nail it down, start being grateful for that one small thing. If you think your situation is just too horrible and you can't find anything to be grateful for, here's my advice. Aim lower. Keep searching for something to be grateful for, no matter how small, and your gratitude will grow from that small seed of gratitude. Start here. We've talked about a lot in this book. Anger, fear, values, slowing down, priorities, letting go, and seeking solitude. Most of what we talked about just requires a new perspective. But if you've made it this far in the book and feel overwhelmed about where to start, here's my simple tip. Be grateful. Start with gratitude. As the medieval German theologian Meister Eckhart once said, if the only prayer you said in your whole life was thank you, that would suffice. Slow down and make lots of space to be thankful for anything you can find. Start naming what you're grateful for and why. If you really want it to sink in, say it out loud. You might even want to yell it. Spend the last few minutes before you go to bed writing down what went right that day. Say a prayer of thanks for all the good that happened and ask to be reminded of all the good around you. Start a journal where you keep track of all the good things God has done in your life. Don't just keep the gratitude to yourself. Start expressing it. We tend to thank the waiter for refilling our glass more than we thank our spouses or coworkers for the little things they do. Change that. Be over the top with your gratitude. Well, but that's their job, you say. Sure, it may be, but thank goodness they're doing their jobs. We all know people who aren't doing their jobs. At least these people are. And besides all that, you know you love it when someone acknowledges that you are doing your job well. So express the gratitude to others that you wish they would give to you. It will start a chain reaction of gratitude. It will make everyone a little happier and a lot less angry and frustrated. Start with gratitude and you'll be amazed at what starts to change in your life. And that, my friends, is where we end this journey. Or maybe I should say this is where we really start the journey. Living a real, full life of loving God and others starts with slowing down, consulting your anger, facing your fear, letting it go, embracing solitude, and walking with others. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to live with fear and anxiety. You don't have to be constantly running and trying harder. There's a big world full of love and joy and peace out there. Slow down and enjoy it. That is the last chapter of Love Slows Down. It is available. You can pre-order it tonight, but it'll be available tomorrow. If you got a Kindle version of it, it'll pop up on your Kindle tomorrow. It is available starting tomorrow nationwide, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any places you get books. I would be grateful if you got a copy. I think it'll really be an encouragement for you too. Love Slows Down, how to keep anger and anxiety from ruining life's relationships. And I just encourage you, man, be grateful. There's always something to be grateful for, even in the worst of times.